I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I will be still a moment and go home. I will be still a moment and go home. I will be still a moment and go home. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today in studying A Course in Miracles. We are on Lesson 202, which is the review of Lesson 182, attaching to it the idea that I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I will be still a moment and go home. I'm Willie from the Ozarks, and here we're on Friday, July the 21st of 2023. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I will be still a moment, or I will be still an instant, either one, and go home. Why would I choose to stay an instant more where I do not belong, when God Himself has given me His voice to call me home? Why would I choose to stay an instant more where I do not belong, when God Himself has given me His voice to call me home? I will be still a moment and go home. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I really want to look at the review, how to do it again before we go to our text. So let's take a look at it. Review number 6, the page prior. We read this yesterday, but I want to read it again. For this review, we take but one idea each day and practice it as often as is possible. Besides the time we give morning and evening, which should not be less than 15 minutes, and the hourly remembrance we make throughout the day, use the idea as often as you can between them. Each of these ideas alone would be sufficient for salvation if it were learned truly. Each would be enough to give release to you and to the world from every form of bondage and invite the memory of God to come again. That's what we want, the memory of God to come again. With this in mind, we start our practicing, in which we carefully review the thoughts the Holy Spirit has bestowed on us in our last 20 lessons. Each contains the whole curriculum, if understood, practiced, accepted, and applied to all the seeming happenings throughout the day. One is enough. But for that one, there must be no exceptions made. And so we need to use them all and let them blend as one, as each contributes to the whole we learn. These practice sessions, like our last review, are centered around a central theme with which we start and end each lesson, and it is this: I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. The day begins and ends with this, and we repeat it every time the hour strikes, or we remember in between we have a function that transcends the world we see. Beyond this, and a repetition of the special thought we practice for the day, no form of exercise is urged, except a deep relinquishment of everything that clutters up the mind and makes it deaf to reason, sanity, and simple truth. Again on that sentence. Beyond this, and a repetition of the special thought we practice for the day, no form of exercise is urged except a deep relinquishment of everything that clutters up the mind and makes it deaf to reason, sanity, and simple truth. We will attempt to get beyond all words and special forms of practicing for this review, for we attempt this time to reach a quickened pace along a shorter path to the serenity and peace of God. We merely close our eyes and then forget all that we thought we knew and understood. For thus is freedom given us from all we did not know and failed to understand. We merely close our eyes, and then we forget all that we thought we knew and understood. For thus is freedom given us from all we did not know and failed to understand. There's but one exception to this lack of structuring. Permit no idle thought to go unchallenged. Permit no idle thought to go unchallenged. If you notice one, deny its hold and hasten to assure your mind that this is not what it would have. Then gently let the thought which you denied be given up in sure and quick exchange for the idea we practice for the day. When you are tempted, hasten to proclaim your freedom from temptation as you say, "This thought I do not want, I choose instead," and then repeat the idea for the day, and let it take the place of what you thought. Beyond such special application of each day's idea, we will add but few formal expressions for specific thoughts to aid your practicing. Instead, we give these times of quiet to the teacher who instructs in quiet, speaks of peace, gives our thoughts whatever meaning they may have. To him I offer this review for you. I place you in his charge, says Jesus, placing us in the Holy Spirit's charge, and let him teach you what to do and say and think each time you turn to him. He will not fail to be available to you each time you call to him to help you. Let us offer him the whole review we now begin, and let us also not forget to whom it has been given as we practice day by day, advancing toward the goal he set for us, allowing him to teach us how to go, and trusting him completely for the way each practice period can best become a loving gift of freedom to the world. Okay, well, today, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I will be still a moment and go home. Why would I choose to stay an instant more where I do not belong when God himself has given me his voice to call me home? I will be still a moment and go home. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. Okay, let's go take a look in our text reading. And we're in chapter 20, the promise of the resurrection, section 8, the consistency of means and end. The consistency of means and end. And that begins on paragraph 58. While you're turning there, what on earth is going on today? Well, it's Department of Veterans Administration created. Department of Veterans Administration created. And that was in 1930. Invite an alien to live with you day. That makes reference to the Mark and Mindy show with Robin Williams and Pan Dauber. I think that's what that's in reference to. We need some comic relief, don't we? Legal drinking age day. Lowest recorded temperature day. And it was in Antarctica in 1983, and it was 128.6 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. 128 degrees below zero. Monkey Day, and that was in reference to a court case about evolution with a science teacher named John Scopes in Tennessee in 1925. National Be Someone Day. National, and of course you can't not be anybody, but I'm as God created me. You're exactly who you are to be, that unique expression of God. National Craft for Your Local Shelters Day, about dogs and cat shelters. National Junk Food Day. National Lamington Day. And lamington is an Australian sponge cake covered with chocolate sauce. National Tug of War Tournament Day, National Pet Store Puppies Day, and Take a Monkey to Lunch Day. Okay, and then let's take a look again in edible landscaping at the Caroline Everbearing Raspberry. I'm sitting out in front of my wild raspberries underneath, and you know they seem to do okay in the shade of a black walnut. They do well. I mean, it's tape. There's not too many raspberries on them right now, but I had one yesterday, like I told you, and I saw a few more that are ripening. Anyway, the Caroline Everbearing Raspberry, it's a Rubus idaeus, and it says in edible landscaping, it says Caroline Everbearing Raspberry. Caroline is a large, conic, well-flavored red raspberry, more disease resistant and with larger, earlier fruits than most everbearers. And you know, the everbearers, I think, are the ones that they'll produce on the new canes in the fall, the primocanes in the fall. And the ones that winter over, those primocanes become floricanes for the next spring that they produce on. So that's why they've got two crops, but it's an extended period for at least the fall crop, I think, is a longer period. And it may vary from cultivar to cultivar. Sweeter fruits than most red raspberries, ripens August till frost at our nursery, but responds to warmer temperatures and ripens earlier farther south. There are nurseries in Afton, Virginia, which would be zone 7, by the way. Several plants are usually planted 3 foot apart in rows 5 foot wide. One plant space in the middle of a 5 foot circle of well-prepared garden soil. Canes average 3 to 6 feet tall, and this is good in zones 5 through 9. Okay, let's go look at paragraph 58 in chapter 20, the consistency of means and end. We have said much about discrepancies of means and end, and how these must be brought in line before your holy relationship can bring you only joy. But we've also said the means to meet the Holy Spirit's goal will come from the same source as does His purpose. Being so simple and direct, this course has nothing in it that is not consistent. The seeming inconsistencies or parts you find more difficult than others are merely indications of areas where means and end are still discrepant, and this produces great discomfort. This need not be. This course requires almost nothing of you. It is impossible to imagine one that asks so little or could offer more. Wow, catch that. This course requires almost nothing of you. It is impossible to imagine one that asks so little and could offer more. You know, really, it's not that much that he's asking. An hourly remembrance of something that makes you happy and thankful for, and a pause in the morning to read your lesson, and then to take 15 minutes of silence and just being still today. I will be still an instant and go home, or I will be still a moment and go home, and then go home. Be at peace a while, and do that again in the evening. Paragraph 59. The period of discomfort that follows the sudden change in a relationship from sin to holiness should now be almost over. Wow, isn't that cool? To the extent you still experience it, you are refusing to leave the means to Him who changed the purpose, which would be God, or the Holy Spirit. Maybe you want to think of it in that way. To the extent you still experience discomfort, you are refusing to leave the means to Him who changed the purpose. You recognize you want the goal. Are you not also willing to accept the means? If you are not, let us admit that you are inconsistent. A purpose is attained by means, and if you want a purpose, you must be willing to want the means as well. How can one be sincere and say, I want this above all else, and yet I do not want to learn the means to get it. 60. To obtain the goal, the Holy Spirit indeed asked little. To obtain the goal, the Holy Spirit indeed asked little. He asks no more to give the means as well. The means are second to the goal. And when you hesitate, it is because the purpose frightens you and not the means. Remember this, for otherwise you will make the error of believing the means are difficult. Yet how can they be difficult if they are merely given you? They guarantee the goal and they are perfectly in line with it. Before we look at them a little closer, remember that if you think they are impossible, your wanting of the purpose has been shaken. For if a goal is possible to reach, the means to do so must be possible as well. 61. It is impossible to see your brother as sinless and yet to look upon him as a body. It is impossible to see your brother as sinless and yet to look upon him as a body. Is this not perfectly consistent with the goal of holiness? For holiness is merely the result of letting the effects of sin be lifted, so what was always true is recognized. To see a sinless body is impossible, for holiness is positive, and the body is merely neutral. It is not sinful, but neither is it sinless. As nothing, which it is, the body cannot be meaningfully be invested with attributes of Christ or of the ego. Again on that sentence, as nothing, which the body is, the body cannot meaningfully be invested with attributes of Christ or of the ego. Either must be an error, for both would place the attributes where they could not be, and both must be undone for purposes of truth. 62. The body is the means by which the ego tries to make the unholy relationship seem real. The unholy instant is the time of bodies, but the purpose here is sin. It cannot be attained but in illusions. It cannot be attained but in illusion. And so the illusion of a brother as a body is quite in keeping with the purpose of unholiness. Because of this consistency, the means remains unquestioned while the end is cherished. Vision adapts to wish, for sight is always secondary to desire. Okay, catch that? Vision adapts to your wishes. For sight or vision is always secondary to desire. If you see the body, you have chosen judgment and not vision. For vision, like relationships, has no order. You either see or not. 63. Who sees a brother's body has laid a judgment on him and sees him not. Who sees a brother's body has laid a judgment on him and sees him not. He does not really see him as sinful. He does not see him at all. In the darkness of sin, he is invisible. He can but be imagined in the darkness, and it is here that the illusions you hold about him are not held up to his reality. Here are illusions and reality kept separated. Here are illusions never brought to truth and always hidden from it. And here in darkness is your brother's reality, imagined as a body, in unholy relationships with other bodies, serving the cause of sin an instant before he dies. 64. There is indeed a difference between this vain imagining and vision. The difference lies not in them, but in their purpose. Both are but means, each one appropriate to the end for which it is employed. Neither can serve the purpose of the other, for each one is a choice of purpose, employed on its behalf. Either is meaningless without the end for which it was intended, nor is it valued as a separate thing apart from the intention. The means seem real because the goal is valued, and judgment has no value unless the goal is sin. 65. The body cannot be looked upon except through judgment. The body cannot be looked upon except through judgment. To see the body as the sign that you lack vision and have denied the means the Holy Spirit offers you to serve His purpose. To see the body is the sign that you lack vision and have denied the means the Holy Spirit offers you to serve His purpose. How can a holy relationship achieve its purpose through the means of sin? Judgment you taught yourself. Vision is learned from Him who would undo your teaching. His vision cannot see the body because it cannot look on sin, and thus it leads you to reality. Your holy brother, sight of whom is your release, is no illusion. Attempt to see him not in darkness, for your imaginings about him will seem real there. You closed your eyes to shut him out. Such was your purpose, and while this purpose seems to have any meaning, the means for its attainment will be evaluated as worth the seeing, and so you will not see. That sentence again. You closed your eyes to shut him out. Such was your purpose, and while this purpose seems to have any meaning, the means for its attainment will be evaluated as worth the seeing. And so you will not see, because you're seeing what's not worth seeing, because you wish to see guilt, because you thought it'd protect you, probably. But we got to learn that we're invulnerable. We don't need to see guilt in anyone. Okay, and the last paragraph, 66. Your question should not be, how can I see my brother without the body? Ask only, do I really wish to see him sinless? And as you ask, forget not that this sinlessness is your escape from fear. Salvation is the Holy Spirit's goal. The means is vision. For what the seeing look upon is sinless. No one who loves can judge, and what he sees is free of condemnation. And what he sees he did not make, for it was given him to see, as was the vision which made his seeing possible. Wow. Okay, well, that finishes that section. The consistency of means and end. And tomorrow we'll go the vision of sinlessness. And let's go take a look at our text reading, or our not text reading, our manual for teachers again. Manual. I'll get it right here in a minute. Our workbook for students, lesson 202, which is review of lesson 182. I will be still a moment and go home. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I will be still a moment and go home. Why would I choose to stay an instant more where I do not belong, when God Himself has given me His voice to call me home? I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. Okay, wow, let's make sure my guitar didn't get too hot. It was sitting in the sun. Okay, I guess we're good. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I will be still a moment and go home. I will be still a moment and go home. Why would I choose to stay an instant more where I do not belong, when God himself has given me his voice to call me home. I will be still a moment and go home. I will be still a moment and go home. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. Thank you all so much for joining me today and studying this. Lesson 182 review, Lesson 202. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me. I will be still a moment and go home. I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me.